two. He's been using.
Most people think self-defense looks something like this. Two people, one winner, one loser. In other words, a fight. But what if I told you that's one of the biggest misconceptions in martial arts? What if self-defense isn't really about fighting at all? By the end of this video, I'm going to explain why the phrase street fighting or street fight may be one of the most misleading terms in martial arts. Stay with me, because understanding this distinction might completely change the way you think about violence. Ask someone what self-defense means, and they'll usually describe fighting. Punches, kicks, submissions, knockouts, winning. And honestly, I understand why. Most of what we see online is focused on fights. Street fights, combat sports, things of that nature. So people start assuming that self-defense is just simply fighting outside of that environment, outside of the gym or the dojo. But that assumption ignores one very important question. Who decided the fight was happening? Because that answer changes everything. Imagine two guys arguing outside a bar. One says, "Let's take this outside." The other agrees. They both walk outside. They square up. Maybe there's even spectators. Maybe there are rules. Maybe they stop when someone quits. Maybe they stop when someone gets knocked out, smashes their head on the concrete. This is violence, but it's also consensual. Both people have agreed to participate. They've accepted the possibility of injury. They've accepted the possibility of losing, perhaps even death. They've chosen to fight. That's important, because many martial arts are designed around this type of violence. Expected violence, mutual violence, consensual violence. Now let's compare that to a criminal assault. A criminal doesn't ask for your permission. They don't care about fairness. They don't care about proving who's tougher. They don't care about your martial arts rank or who you are. Their goal is to simply achieve their objective. That objective could be money, control, perhaps even revenge, sexual violence, intimidation, or simply causing harm. And because their objective is different, their behavior is different. They use surprise, they use deception, they use intimidation. They may bring friends. It's very likely they will. They may bring weapons. They may attack when you're distracted. The context has completely changed. And when the context changes, everything changes. Here's the biggest mistake people make. They think the goal of self-defense is simply winning. It isn't. The goal of self-defense is avoiding harm. That's it. Avoiding physical harm, legal harm, financial harm, emotional harm. If I can walk away safely, that's a win. If I can de-escalate the situation, that's another win. If I can escape before the violence even occurs, whether that's through preemption or something else, that's a win. Many people train for victory, but self-defense is about safety. Those are not always the same thing. Now, this doesn't mean fighting skills aren't valuable. They absolutely are. Things like boxing, wrestling, jiu-jitsu, karate, all of these can contribute valuable skills. But self-defense isn't just about what happens when punches start flying. It's also about awareness, judgment, boundary setting, recognizing danger, understanding criminal behavior. The fight itself is often the last stage of a much larger problem. So why do I think most people misunderstand self-defense? Because we've spent so much time talking about fighting that we've forgotten to talk about context. And context is everything. A fight and self-defense are not the same thing. One is consensual violence. The other is violence forced upon you, non-consensual violence. One is about proving who wins. The other is about avoiding harm and getting home safely. And if we don't understand the difference, we may end up training for the wrong problem. If you enjoyed this video, consider subscribing. On this channel, we'll explore practical self-defense, karate, kata application, and the realities of civilian self-protection. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.